The Charger raced through streets. The chase was short, but intense. Dominique's desperate flight ended when she lost control of the vehicle, crashing into a house on Tireman and Normill Streets in Detroit. The impact was severe enough to damage the car and trap the occupants inside.
Real? Am I dreaming?
No. I'm asking you a question.
Are you serious?
Are you playing the victim card right now?
Are you serious?
Am I the reason why any of this is happening? Case in point. That's all I need to know. That's all I needed to know. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know.
Are you serious?
No. I'm actually.
Are you serious? Are you serious right now? Are you serious right now? Are you serious?
I'll answer your question.
This is Eleni Casa, 30 years old, a mother of one, and the woman whose life ended the moment she checked her phone. On the morning of November 17, 2022, everything seemed normal until she dropped off her daughter at school and vanished without a trace. Hours turned to days, and the silence felt wrong, too heavy, too loud. Then, nearly 2 weeks later, on November 27th, everything shattered. Eleni's body was discovered stuffed in the trunk of her wife's car, abandoned miles away in Dearborn, Michigan. That discovery didn't just end the search, it exposed a twisted chain of events no one was prepared for. As investigators dug deeper, a horrifying truth surfaced. Eleni was killed immediately after unlocking her phone. A simple swipe, a screen lighting up, a moment we never think twice about, was the very thing that took her life. And what happened after didn't just raise questions, it unleashed a chaotic, deadly spiral no one could have predicted. This is the chilling life and death of Eleni Casa. Welcome back to Viral Crime Stories. Thank you for your support. It truly means everything. Please take a moment to like the video, drop your comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, let's go back to the story. But before the nightmare that would claim her life, we need to go back to the city where everything began, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a quiet place just outside Nashville, where Eleni's story first took shape. Her life didn't start with comfort. It began with heartbreak. Born in Eritrea, she was only 3 years old when tragedy stole both of her parents, leaving her older brother, just 6, to become her protector. 2 children, no guidance, no safety net, only survival instincts pushing them forward as they made a desperate journey to America for a chance to start over. Murfreesboro became their new home, and it was there that Eleni's resilience hardened. Every struggle, every loss, pushed her to fight for stability, to build a life she never had the chance to experience. At 25, she became a mother, and from that moment on, her world revolved around her daughter. Every decision she made, every sacrifice, every long day at work was for the little girl she loved more than anything. But motherhood didn't shield her from heartbreak. Her relationship with her daughter's father collapsed, leaving her to raise their child alone. Still, her strength never cracked.
Father died, which is Eleni was 3 years old at the time. So I remember holding her hand in my hand, tell her that our mother will come back.
She carried everything, pressure, fear, responsibility, with quiet determination. And eventually, she opened her heart again. At 31, she met Dominic Cardwick, someone who appeared charming, supportive, and full of promise. At first, her family hoped this was the fresh start she deserved. But hope quickly turned to unease. The longer Dominic stayed in Eleni's life, the more her behavior shifted. Small flashes of jealousy, possessiveness, then sharper, darker signs that something wasn't right. What began as a new love story slowly twisted into a source of tension, fear, and silent warning. Those closest to Eleni saw it happening. They watched the smiles fade, the control creep in, and the red flags grow louder. What looked like minor issues at first were becoming something far more dangerous, and none of them knew just how deadly this new chapter would become. In August 2022, everything snapped, and the thin line holding Eleni's life together finally tore. A domestic disturbance call dragged police to her apartment at the Arborbrook complex, and the Murfreesboro police report painted only a fraction of the truth. It said the argument started because Dominic found a text message from another woman on Eleni's phone, and erupted in rage. It said he pushed her. It said he slapped her. But what Eleni later told investigators made it clear that the report barely scratched the surface of what really happened behind that door. Dominic didn't just push her. He grabbed her by the neck, slammed her against the wall, and squeezed until her breath broke in her throat. This wasn't a fight. It was an attack meant to silence her. When medics rushed her to the hospital, they confirmed what she already felt shooting through her face. Her jaw was fractured. Dominic was arrested for aggravated domestic assault, hauled away, and a no-contact order was slapped into place. Officers even escorted him back to the apartment to collect his things. On paper, the system had stepped in. On paper, she was finally free. But paper can't stop a man who refuses to let go. Survivors of domestic violence know this too well. A judge's order doesn't stop obsession, and fear doesn't vanish just because a signature dries. In the weeks that followed, Eleni tried to rebuild. She focused on her daughter, on work, on her brother who had always been her shield. She tried to step back into a normal life, but the nightmare was only warming up. November 17, 2022 looked like any other Thursday. Eleni went through her usual routine. Her daughter went to school, excited the way she always was to run into her mother's arms at dismissal. But that afternoon, something shattered the rhythm. Eleni didn't show up. Not late, not delayed. Gone. For her family, panic hit instantly. This woman would rather crawl than miss her daughter's pickup. Her brother knew in his bones that something was terribly wrong. Eleni's phone, keys, and car were found inside her apartment. Nothing taken, nothing disturbed. It looked like she vanished between one breath and the next. Police soon learned she and Dominic had argued earlier that evening, despite the no-contact order, and somehow Dominic had gotten inside. Somehow, he convinced her to walk out with him. Investigators locked onto a black Dodge Charger, registered to Dominic license plate readers, caught it slipping out of Tennessee and heading north. From that moment, every passing hour felt like quicksand for her family. For 10 excruciating days, they searched, begged, posted online, prayed, anything to pull her back home. Her brother flew across the country, desperate, refusing to believe he might be too late. Meanwhile, Eleni was being carried farther and farther away from everyone who loved her. The Dodge Charger kept pushing north, crossing state lines, moving with purpose toward Michigan. But Dominic wasn't alone. A 34-year-old woman was in the car with them, a woman whose presence made no sense. Who was she? Why was she there? Was she helping him, or was she trapped in something she didn't understand? Investigators had no answers, and every new detail only made the mystery colder and darker. Back in Tennessee, her daughter kept asking when her mother was coming home. Her co-workers reported her missing at work. Her community grew restless as hours turned to days, and hope thinned. But the Charger kept moving. It rolled into Pontiac, Dominic's old territory, tracked again by plate readers. News outlets were broadcasting her disappearance by day. 4, a mother missing. A dangerous man on the move. A car spotted far from home. And now the vehicle was entering Oakland County, nearing Detroit, a massive, crowded region where people can disappear in the noise, where danger blends into traffic, where desperate decisions get made. Every mile north felt like a countdown, and the breaking point was closing in fast. On November 27, 2022, 10 long days after Eleni vanished, the case snapped open in the most terrifying way. Officers spotted the black Dodge Charger, the same car every agency across multiple states had been hunting. The moment they tried to pull it over, Dominic made a choice that revealed everything about how far she was willing to go. She hit the gas. The car tore through Detroit neighborhoods, blowing past houses, intersections, and terrified residents as police trailed behind. It wasn't a long chase, but it was violent, reckless, frantic, every second pulsing with danger. And then it ended in a blast. Dominic lost control. The Charger slammed into a house on Timon and Normile, shaking the neighborhood with the impact. The crash crushed the front end, trapping everyone inside. Officers raced toward the mangled vehicle, expecting one thing: the missing woman and her abductor finally cornered. But what they walked into was something far more disturbing.
The Charger raced through streets. The chase was short, but intense. Dominique's desperate flight ended when she lost control of the vehicle, crashing into a house on Tireman and Normill Streets in Detroit. The impact was severe enough to damage the car and trap the occupants inside.
Dearborn police had already picked up the Charger on a flock camera hours earlier, tried to stop it, were pulled into a pursuit, and then lost sight of it. Now, in Detroit, the chaos came full circle. When officers reached the wreckage, they found Dominic dead, shot in the head. Whether self-inflicted or not, investigators weren't ready to say. A second woman sat injured in the passenger seat, barely conscious but alive. And then came the moment that froze every officer on scene. They opened the trunk. Inside was the lifeless body of Eleni Casa, carefully placed, hidden, silent. The news ripped through both cities, Murfreesboro, where she had been loved, and Detroit, where her final moments had collided with a house on a quiet street. Residents described feeling the ground shake, not knowing that a woman missing from hundreds of miles away had been inside that car. The discovery ended the search, but it opened a storm of questions. A missing Middle Tennessee mother now found dead in Michigan. A suspect dead from a gunshot. A high-speed chase. A shootout. A trunk holding the body of a woman who never made it to pick her daughter up from school. Why was Eleni taken across state lines? What happened during those 10 days? How did Dominic violate a no-contact order so easily? And what was the truth behind the mysterious third passenger, the woman who survived the crash? Investigators identified her as 34-year-old Carla Hayes. She'd been with Dominic and Eleni from Tennessee to Michigan, but nothing about her presence made sense. Was she a hostage? A participant? A witness? Or someone trapped in the gravity of Dominic's obsession? Detectives dug into her history with Dominic, pressing for any detail that could explain the decisions, the route, the violence. Carla became the key to unlocking the truth, because she was the only living person who saw the final days unfold. And as investigators peeled back layers of Dominic Hardwick's past, an unmistakable pattern emerged. The violence surrounding Eleni was not new. This wasn't Dominic's first explosive relationship, and tragically, it wasn't the first time her partners paid the price. A Facebook post from a grieving mother, Caroline Sheba Perez, began circulating shortly after Eleni's body was found, and it carried allegations dark enough to shake the entire investigation. Perez claimed that Dominic had been tied to another tragedy, the death of her son, Stephen T. Brown, in March 2021. In her emotional post, she wrote, "This is what hurt my son, Stephen T. Brown, March 2021, and Eleni Casa most recently, blessings and peace to their souls." Perez alleged that Stephen had been shot twice inside Dominic's Michigan residence, left bleeding for hours, and only then did Dominic and her wife go to the police to report the incident. If true, this wasn't just a coincidence. It was a pattern, a chilling history of violence, manipulation, and control that seemed to follow Dominic everywhere she went. And now the question was impossible to ignore. Did Eleni become the next victim of a woman whose past hinted at far darker behavior than anyone realized? Law enforcement hadn't verified these allegations, but the post spread fast, igniting suspicion and fear. If Dominic had been involved in a violent death before, Eleni's case suddenly looked less like an isolated tragedy and more like part of a deadly pattern. The horror deepened when investigators uncovered what had happened on November 17, 2022. That morning seemed ordinary. Eleni dropped her daughter off at school, but minutes later, she vanished. 10 days of silence followed, until November 27th, when officers opened the trunk of Dominic's crashed Dodge Charger in Michigan and found Eleni's lifeless body. The truth unraveled like a nightmare. Investigators determined she had been killed immediately after checking her phone. A simple act, something we all do every day, yet it set off a deadly chain reaction. But to understand how things spiraled into murder and interstate flight, we must go back to where her story began. Murfreesboro, Tennessee, 34 miles southeast of Nashville, where Eleni's life was shaped by loss and survival. Born in Eritrea, she lost both parents at just 3 years old. Her older brother, barely 6, became her protector. Together, they made a desperate journey to America, eventually settling in Murfreesboro. Her resilience grew from necessity, her strength rooted in tragedy. As investigators continued digging into Eleni's death, more layers peeled back. Dominic's volatile behavior, Carla's mysterious presence in the car, and the unanswered question of how a single domestic dispute transformed into a cross-state kidnapping and murder. The truth behind Eleni's final days remains tangled in pain and secrecy. The role Dominic played seems obvious, but the role Carla played remains clouded. Was she terrified, trapped, threatened? Or was she involved in ways she hasn't admitted? As the investigation moves forward, her family's fight for justice continues, determined to expose every detail of what happened to the woman who survived so much, only to be taken by the one person she trusted. Eleni's memory now fuels the push for justice and the call to protect others from domestic violence. If you or someone you know is in danger, reach out. No one should face this alone. And what do you think happened in this case? Let us know in the comments below, and if this story gripped you, like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories that reveal the truth no one else is telling.